Mexican-American War by Lily Casey Garrett Taylor. The United States' manifest destiny was to expand from the Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean. James Polk, our 11th president, was a strong believer of this. He wanted to keep the peace, but would fight for expansion if needed. And he was not afraid to push Mexicans and Native Americans out of the way if it meant gaining present-day Texas. Our relationship with Mexico turned sour when Congress voted to annex Texas. Mexicans believed that it was an act of war. To make matters worse, Texas and Mexico could not agree on a border. Texans said the border was the Rio Grande River, but Mexicans believed it was the river 150 miles northeast called the Nueces River. U.S. troops patrolling the Rio Grande were attacked by Mexican soldiers. In the words of James Polk, Mexico has invaded our territory and shed American blood on American soil. Congress declared war on Mexico 2 days later. This was the start of the Mexican-American War.
Americans had many mixed reactions about Polk's decision to declare war. Abraham Lincoln also questioned the need for war. Americans did not think that men dying in a war against Mexico was justified. General Stephen Kearny led his army out of Kansas just a few months later. He planned to occupy New Mexico and then continue on west to California. General Kearny persuaded Mexico that they meant to withdraw. He then took New Mexico without having to fire a shot. He continued forward to California, at which the time consisted of only 8,000 to 12,000 Mexican residents. Rebels led by John C. Fremont rebelled against Mexican rule. This was known as the Bear Flag Revolt. They raised a flag with a grizzly bear sketched in a pool of blackberry juice. California was declared independent by the rebels. U.S. troops joined rebel forces in California, and within weeks, the United States controlled all of California.
General Zachary Taylor led 6,000 U.S. troops to Mexico, where they took on the city of Monterrey. There they ran into the General Santa Anna and 20,000 Mexican troops. In February 1847, both armies and their generals met in Buena Vista. Santa Anna and his troops retreated south after just 2 days of fighting. U.S. forces led by General Winfield Scott landed at Veracruz just a month later. They fought their way to Mexico's capital, Mexico City. Americans ran into 1,000 Mexican soldiers and 100 military cadets defending the castle of Chapultepec. Even some cadets would rather die than back down. Scott's army captured Mexico in September 1847.
The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed by the United States and Mexico in 1848. Texas and a vast region known as the Mexican Cession was ceded to the U.S. The Mexican Cession included California, Nevada, Utah, and as well as parts of Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. Mexico gave up half of all its territory in exchange for $5 million from the U.S. Most of our promises were not kept, though. Some opposed the treaty and said the Mexican-American War was unjust. They also said that Americans had no right to any Mexican land besides Texas. According to them, New Mexico and California were not worth a dollar. Some senators opposed it for the opposite reason. They wanted more Mexican land. The Mexican Cession was a manifest destiny dream come true to most senators, and the treaty was ratified 38-14. In 1853, James Gadsden gave the United States another small strip of land for $10 million. It was the rest of the land of New Mexico and Arizona, and is now the present-day border between the U.S. and Mexico. Many Americans rejoiced in the expansion of our nation, but others were not. Was this our manifest destiny?